But I think what's really interesting about this is, of course I would think this because I'm an amateur psychologist these days, everybody thinks they're special. It's the selfie generation, okay? I don't want your package. Of course, who wants to be packaged? I don't want to feel like I'm packaged either. I want to feel like I'm special.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning, I was just sending you a message asking you if you were coming. Hello, how are you?
In tech speak too.
Yes, well, had to do it on my other gadget because messages don't seem to be working on my laptop this morning.
Oh dear. You're a right old challenge technologically speaking, aren't you?
I have had a right week, yes. Shall I go first and explain about my right week?
Yes, do go ahead.
Apropos of nothing at all and with no warning and no explanation, on Monday lunchtime the internet disappeared. We were still online and it looked normal on the computer, you know, where you have the little ometer down the bottom.
Yeah.
But when we did a speed test, it showed less than 5% of our normal download speed. And I only really use download speed. That means, you know, we do everything online now, don't we? You remember when, you know, we're so proud, aren't we, that we keep nothing locally on our computers.
Yeah.
And that we go through the window that is the internet to access everything. And at 5% of the normal speed, well, that was the speed at which I could work. And that meant it was difficult or impossible to talk to clients. I did make WebEx work on Wednesday with 2 clients.
2 days in now?
Well, on Tuesday, yes, Monday afternoon we lost it. When did we have? I think I had a group call at 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning and WebEx worked for that. And I had a client who crashed her own Skype on Tuesday afternoon, and we used WebEx work for that as well. It's slightly, it only needs one MBS, and whatever, you know what I'm saying. I don't know how you measure
megabytes a second.
Yeah, normally we have 19, which isn't great actually, but it's enough. And we've discovered that you can stream a TV program at about 13, and I had to Google, you know, what do you turn off to save bandwidth? And live streaming is absolutely the worst thing you can do, but it's all I do, really. So it's very disabling and frustrating and slowing to be without it, and everything takes, well, many, many, many times as long. And on Monday, before I realised what the problem was, I downloaded malware and ran a long hour-long scan and opened up the task manager and seeing, was my laptop, you know, overburdened and And at 6 o'clock, I just gave up, really. And there wasn't enough power, for instance, to put my lovely photographs into my Lumen 5 videos. It took me 48 hours to produce one of those, and it normally takes 5 minutes. And also the man that's doing my book couldn't send me, I've sent him a message today saying probably all right, but couldn't send me any PDFs because my sister-in-law sent me 2 photographs of my nieces and nephews going to a wedding, and that took like 20 minutes to download, and that's using up the entire bandwidth, you know, for everybody, not just me. So I'm confused about what it means to have had no heat last week and no internet this week. Is it this, and you know, the falling over incident, is it that I'm okay whatever happens? I can fall over and be all right. I can be cold and all right and not online and all right, because without the internet all you can do is read a book. No telly for me, so I'm well behind. There was blissfully no Rick Stein in Mexico episode this week because it was football instead, but I'm well behind with the A word, for instance, so don't tell me what's happened this week.
No, I won't. And I started the one you recommended about the records office. Cool, that was a corking first episode, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think that one's tonight, so I might be, well, no, I'm several episodes of everything behind, and of course, as you can imagine, I insist on doing everything in order, so I'll have to catch up. Yes. I'll have to catch up, Nicola. Tell me about your weekend. Hopefully it's better than that.
Well, I can tell you there is one more, I won't wish it on you, but you know, we came to stay in Greece and we were cold and most of the time, and we had to wear extra clothes, and the internet was incredibly slow, and we had to turn everything else off if we wanted to watch Vikings. The next thing that can happen is all the power goes off.
Well, in effect, let me see,
So
all the power stuff. If we lost our electric, we would
you have to make sure, I'll tell you what, you have to make sure your Kindle's charged at all times, because if the power goes off, you can't read normal books unless you've got hurricane lamps. But if you have got a Kindle that's fully charged, you can read it because it's got battery on it, on the back,
but don't forget mine hasn't got, it's not backlit, so I wouldn't be able to read it in the dark. Yeah.
Oh dear, right. Okay.
So, but my new iPad that my friend David gave me that holds the charge for days, whereas my previous one held it for about 20 minutes. So, anyway.
Fully charged at all times. And the other thing is, make sure you've got a way of making a cup of tea if the power goes off, because you basically have to, I can put it on my stove if I've got the right kind of kettle, because I've got
we can do that on the stove as well, and we have had power cuts actually. Anyway, the whole thing is strangely bonding, because if you can't all hide in your respective spaces with the internet, you have to play together nicely in the living room, which is what we did last night. But anyway, we're back.
There you go. Well, we're glad to hear it. So I've had a very interesting week, because of course it was Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and I would normally have made some sort of Black Friday offer adding value, because I don't like to discount. But I honestly was so busy with people coming to me for business, new business. I closed so much new business over the weekend without having even sent out a Black Friday offer, because I didn't have time. It was hilarious.
Oh, marvellous. Music to my ears, because the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing's a real turn off for me. So I'm glad.
I was sort of feeling that I should do something, but something where I add value rather than discount. But also I've been so busy editing, because I had 10 episodes of the new Right Club podcast to episode.
Yeah.
And
how many have you done?
I've done 6 so far. Episode 6 is the episode on writing about sex. So we have a right old laugh on that one. Okay. Because we ranged from the brazen to the squeamish on that topic. And we had an interview with a lady whose name escapes me off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But she writes erotica for a living. And she came on the interview, video Zoom, and she was the least likely erotic writer I've ever seen. And she was very down to earth and very nice. But she doesn't just write erotica for women. She writes men on men erotica for men. And I mean, really, it beggars belief that a woman, a very respectable looking lady could do that. And she told us all about how she got into it and how she wrote her first erotic novel for men, and how she became a published author with that first, which was jolly annoying for her, because she'd been trying to get books published for years. So that was very entertaining, and of course interspersing chat of erotica with readings from Lady Chatterley's Lover with the Christmas elves, because it was a Christmas episode. It kept me very entertained, I must say.
Well, draw breath for a minute, because I'd like to make 2 comments on that. You probably know that there is, I expect your Right Club ladies drew to your attention that there is the annual Bad Sex Award for people that write poor sex scenes in books.
They did mention something like that, but I didn't really take it in. What was it all about then?
Well, there's an annual award for people who write books that have sex scenes in it, and you vote for the worst, most squeamish making one. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll look it up for you for the show notes. Yeah. And also the other point about your woman, it was discovered that quite a lot of people that write for, what's that very romantic, big selling publisher? Mills and Boon. Oh, men, isn't it?
Oh, men.
Yeah.
Yeah, bearded men writing
under a nom de plume, pretending to be a sort of Barbara Cartland. Yeah,
exactly. So that was very, very entertaining indeed, because it's a whole. We were talking about the whole thing about does a book need sex scenes, and which great books have you read? Which rubbish ones? And I read out a bit from Lady Chatterley's Lover, which was just absolutely hilarious. So it got very raunchy. We're launching on Monday. We're on Audio Boom with the first 3 episodes already. So if you just go to audioboom.com and search Right Club, WRITE Club, you'll find us, and then we're going to do weekly from then on. So we're going to get together once a quarter and record. Once a month, and record 5 episodes in a batch, because it's easier for us to do that. But yeah, very lively week indeed.
All right, now draw breath again. Interesting to observe you setting up a podcast for Right Club 3 years after we set up ours, because we do it in a complex, cumbersome tech way, and we have a website. And what you've chosen to do with your new one is Audio Boom and a Facebook page / group. If we were starting again today, would you go that route for ours as well?
I don't know is the answer. The reason I'm hesitating is because obviously you're on Audio Boom, it's $9.99, which is sort of similar to the Libsyn fees, to be fair. We're not getting any search engine benefit, so all of the promotion is going to have to be done by us. But of course, it can be done very easily on Facebook. And because there's 6 of us, we've all got 6 sets of friends and things. It's a hobby podcast. I'm not getting paid to do it, obviously. We're probably not going to earn any money from it for years and years and years. So I wanted to keep the costs as low as possible. So
yeah,
I don't know. Sarah's going in today to see what she can hook Audio Boom up to. I know you can feed straight into iTunes from there.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I think if I was advising a client, I would certainly advise them to go this way. So it makes me uncomfortable because, we're totally dependent on Facebook and Audio Boom, but it is a fantastic way to get up and running quickly. And it was effortless to set up Audio Boom.
It's also effortless to set it up, to link it to iTunes, because I managed to do that.
Yeah, well, Sarah's looking at that today for me. You've got Audio Boom give you a feed, which you then submit to iTunes.
Yeah, it was terribly simple. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, if you can do it, anyone can.
Yeah, quite. Not anyone exactly, but if I can do it, you certainly can.
Yeah, the hardest thing was getting as always, getting the artwork. And we had several iterations of artwork that I loved and they didn't. And then several iterations of artwork they loved and I hated. And then we just decided that we were going to go with the colour of the Greek flag as the background. And that actually turns out to be quite a nice, classy blue. So we, as soon as we picked that, it looked a lot better from some of the colours. So, yeah, the artwork, as always, was the sticking point, but we got over that one as well.
Good.
What's fueled your fire?
Before we go there, it's podcast by committee, isn't it?
Well, it is rather, yes, and that is quite funny. I mean, some of us care about some things and some of us don't care about other things. So it's good because the people who care about things take charge of that bit, and the people who don't care about anything just turn up and talk.
And let me make one more comment, if I may. I've only listened to part of the first episode, but you're in rather an echoey room.
Yes, I think you listened to... did you listen to it on Audio Boom?
I don't know. I clicked a link that you put in the Facebook page, I think. I don't know. Is there anywhere else I could have listened to it?
Not sure, but if you listen on Audio Boom, it's been through Ophonic, and that warmed it up a bit. But yes, we were in my house initially, and second episode particularly, the microphone wasn't working, so it was picking us up through the computer microphone, so it wasn't as good as it could have been, but we're improving as we go.
Okay.
As Steph's saying to everyone, it's not Radio 4 quality yet, but we'll get there eventually.
No, quite. And actually, I think, as if there's anything you and I have learned, it's you start and you learn as you go and improve as you go.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not short of things to talk about. There's a million books in the world and there are a million authors in the world. So we've got about 20 authors lined up to interview already. So it's all good. So what's fueled your fire then?
Well, I'm not sure either of the things I'm going to tell you have actually fueled my fire, but they've given me pause for thought, which is never a bad thing. So for the second week running, I've played with batching of my content for my Facebook page, and that's what I spent Monday morning doing before the internet went down, and thank God it did. Otherwise, there would have been nothing on my Facebook page for 3 or 4 days. I don't like it nearly as much. It's efficient. And as I say, thank goodness I did do it this week, but it isn't as engaging to me or for me, so it doesn't work so well to me or for me. And I've realized that I very much need to feel connected, not scheduled, in connection and in conversation with people on social media. So why has that fueled my fire? I suppose just the realization that I prefer to be there live. Otherwise, one has no need to be there at all, which I realize would be joyful for many, but it's not the point for me, and it isn't joyful for me. So if I know, for instance, I've scheduled all my content for a week on Monday morning, I need never go back to Facebook again. Well, that doesn't work for me, sorry. And the second thing, which is very much related, is now that I've got over that 1,000 likes thing on my page, the number of people liking is picking up speed ever so slightly and only visible to me. But specifically the point here is that they do it faster. They like my page considerably faster than they've ever opted into my newsletter. So I can't help but feel the newsletter's on borrowed time. Now, I don't want to just use my list for a broadcast, i.e. selling purposes. So I'm going to keep this all under review and make a decision as 2018 unfolds. And of course, there's a link to join my newsletter list in the book. So we'll see what happens when the book comes out, which is just words after all, and might attract people who like to read words, in which case they might like to read a weekly newsletter. But I would say that my newsletter is on borrowed time because it's not working anymore to make sales. And maybe the book will just attract people who want answers. In that case, I've got a Facebook group for that, Ask Judith. So those are two interrelated noticings. I don't know whether they've fueled my fire, although I like to think about my business and other people's businesses in a strategic sort of way. And as you know, noticing is my current big thing. So I've noticed a couple of things there.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you say about your newsletter. I mean, I really, really enjoy your newsletter, and as someone who does love to read, I really look forward to it. And I literally go and get a coffee before I read it.
Yes, well, bless you, Nicola, but it doesn't do me any good commercially whatsoever to know that, does it?
Interesting you should say that, because my word of the week relates to this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and why I think we should keep on our weekly newsletters going.
Okay,
I do
good.
I've got a very strong reason why we should keep them going.
Okay, excellent.
It relates to the podcast as well. Why we should certainly keep this going.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about your own fire.
Well, interestingly, it's sort of related, because I had all of these people contacting me and I've had 2 people join up for a year at Clicks and Leads Academy. I've had one wonderful ideal client who we both know very well, and she has taken me up on my dinner and a day and my whole my mastermind level client. I'm about to launch my mastermind level in the new year, which is where people can have calls with me, and she's signed up for that, and she's sending her VA to my workshop, and she signed up for all of that, didn't negotiate anything, and in fact has decided not to have an MBA and is going to work with me for a year instead, because she discussed it with various people, and they all decided that the MBA wasn't going to add anything to her business development, but working with me for a year would. So that was really, really wonderful. And I also, the 2 members of Clicks and Leads, they're total strangers. I also had 2 people contacting me for Facebook ads consultancy, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in Focus of the Week. But they all did it not by going to my website and clicking a button. They all did it by contacting me on social media.
Yeah.
As you've been saying.
Yeah. Can you just draw breath here for a moment? I need to tell you that the BT van has just arrived.
Oh, that's
which
cool, isn't it?
may or may not result in our being cut off. And if we're cut off, can we record a second section and keep going, or
Absolutely.
What?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Here at Own It, we personally believe that leaders are readers, but sometimes it's just not convenient to read and you'd rather listen instead. For listeners of Own It the podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. A couple of titles we've picked out for you particularly are Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg or Crush It, Why Now is the Time to Cash In on Your Passion by Gary Vaynerchuk. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/ownit. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ownit for your free audiobook. You can pick one of the ones I've chosen for you, or you can choose something else. Enjoy your listen. Here's our focus of the week, Judith. It's a little amalgamation of things, which I'm hoping you can bring some clarity for our listeners to, and also share what you do. Because this week I've had various people contacting me via social media messenger and asking me, what I've got, what they want to work with me, and one other one was trying to inveigle me into changing my packages because she didn't want to pay for the package that gave her the best amount of one-to-one with me, because she felt that it included other things she didn't need or want. And I've been listening to More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast with Dean Jackson, who you probably know, you might know or not. He works with a guy called Joe Polish a lot, and he's the guy who taught carpet cleaners how to have a proper business, so it's very much in the build it like a franchise model that we're quite keen on, so lots of systemization. And Dean talks about the before units, the during units, and the after units of your business. And what we're talking about here is a during unit where someone actually wants to experience our product or service. And I've got 4 ways they can do that. They can either buy the Be Everywhere online course, they can join my academy, they can work in a small group at mastermind level, or they can hire me for one-to-one work. And you've got lots of different ways that people can experience you too. And this lady was trying to get me to create a bespoke level just for her, which didn't really suit the way I like to work. So I don't think we're going to go for it in the end. But it's all about really how to, once you've systemized your business, once you've created your packages that you feel give your clients the best value and in the way that you like to work, what happens then when someone comes along and tries to get you to do a bespoke level for them? I think your answer would be that you do it for them, wouldn't it?
Well, so much in what you've just said. Yeah. I've got hundreds of thoughts in response, and they'll just have to come out in a random order because I think you and I, well, first of all, bizarre that I should choose my word of the week last week as bespoke.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity to be bespoke should arrive in your life that very week. And at vast length, due to my internet failures, I've already written tomorrow's newsletter. When I say vast length, instead of taking 2 hours, it took sort of 102 hours. It's all about, not all about, there's a serious feature about bespoke being my word of the week and why. And I think that you and I today, it's a bit like what I said to you earlier. If we'd started our podcast 3 years ago, would we have done it the way we've done it? Or would we do it the way you've done it with the Right Club? And it's a bit like me saying to you, I think it was probably in 2017. I think it was probably no more than 6 months ago. If I was starting again, I'd probably have a Facebook page and a MailChimp. And here we are. Everything I learned about packages, I learned from you about 15 years ago about, don't have any more than 3 and have a low price, a medium price and a high price. But I think in 2017, I think you've got to be, as a business owner, you've got to notice as quickly as possible when your market changes, and you've got to be responsive to your clients, even if you decide, like you sound like you might be, that, with some you're prepared to, I don't know whether the right word is, there's a no verb in bespoke, but, with some you're prepared to create bespoke and with some you're not. I think what I was saying last week and what I'm feeling very much at the moment, what I said to you last week was, I'm noticing that my clients are being very idiosyncratic. They're all different. So, for instance, in one of my groups, we have a Monday morning check-in using a Google group, and not all of them do it by any means, and not all of them do it every week. But increasingly, maybe because quite a lot of them are either shy or starry, they write to me directly rather than the Google group. And one of the values of that group was that I would, as far as possible within the framework and the fee, adapt to my clients, not the other way around. And I feel that in my smaller group as well, where if somebody pays me a year's fee in advance and doesn't come to the group offers very often, I would go around the houses slightly to them. So, for instance, there's a man who's a member of it, and no sooner had he joined than there were exceptional domestic circumstances. And I've sent him a private message saying, because you haven't been able to make very good use of this in that exceptional domestic period, where due to marital difficulties he had to take on his children, primary care for his own 2 children, 2 small boys. I've gone round the back and said, look, I know you're not in the normal place to take the best advantage of this. Here are my 2 options. We suspend your membership for a bit until you are, or I add, however many months it's been on at the end. And I felt inspired to offer that, by which I mean a little voice crept up and said, what are you going to do to help that poor man?
Yeah.
And I think it denotes people are changing again, Nicola, okay? People change all the time. The thing I say in my book at the beginning is, look, I couldn't have written this book 15 years ago because you didn't want then what you want now. And what you want now is for me to talk you out of your psychological bonkersness. And what you wanted then was me to teach you how to run a business in pronto. And I think any sentient human being who isn't paying attention to what their clients want and who's got more clients than they can accommodate that awareness for, in my field at least, where I'm about humans one-to-one in a group format or in a one-to-one format. Mine's all about my relationships with my clients. And if I'm not noticing their difficulties or their disinclination to fit in a box, we're entrepreneurs, for goodness sake. Why would an entrepreneur fit in anybody else's box? So it's all rather confused here. Now, I want to sympathise with your woman that not the way she put it, but where she was coming from. So the woman that said, I don't want all of these things you've bundled in. It's a bit like when somebody offers me an offer and if I buy it, I get this and this and this and this and this. I don't want all of that, thanks very much. I just want this because I don't want more digital information. Like, wait, let me finish because this is a lead up, not a wind down. Adding value for the joy of it, which is something that we both love, doesn't necessarily help overwhelmed people. Doesn't mean either that if you take them out, there's a reduction in the value of it, because actually all you've added in is digital content or content that's easy for you to give. So I think your Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing is almost a relief you didn't offer them something with added value in, because what this client is flagging is, I don't really want your added value, I want your core value. And I remember a client saying to me once, I don't really want a bog off, I want one at half price. And I think we've got to be aware, we've just got to listen. And then as business owners, because of course I talk to all my clients about what's the best way for you to serve your clients that also serves you. And that's what the E-Myth is about as well. Now, just because people are changing and want different things for us doesn't mean we have to bend over backwards. There's a degree to which we will bend that will accommodate both parties and we all meet in the middle in somewhere nice that we all like. Or not.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely noticed business pick up dramatically since I simplified things. So there's the clicks and leads, which I've always loved as a domain name, because it sort of says what I do on the tin. And then there's Clicks and Leads Academy. And something clicked into place when I started calling my personal mentoring platform the Clicks and Leads Academy. It says Clicks and Leads, where you can hire me to do it for you, like Facebook ads or consultancy. And then there's Clicks and Leads Academy. If you can't afford either of those two options, that's where you go. And in the Clicks and Leads Academy, there are 3 simple levels. It's the lowest level, the medium level now, and the top level. And I didn't actually have the medium and top levels until just recently. But I'm starting from Christmas to offer both of those again, because I really want, to more contact with clients. And so I've definitely noticed a surge of upturn in business since I simplified everything.
And do you know what I think that's about? I think it's about you getting your head round the offer, not them.
Yes, yes, I think you're right. So when this lady came along, and I really I want to emphasise, I'm delighted that she got in touch with me. I'm delighted we had these conversations. We had a call. I was able to give her superb value and help her with a Facebook ad campaign that she'd been wrangling with in her head. And I've left it. I've sent her off to investigate 2 other people's offerings, because if she doesn't want my offer, which actually I think is very fair for the amount of money and the amount of time I'd be giving her one-to-one, I know that she's not going to get that value anywhere else, but I've sent her off to look, because she might find that she does find something that suits her better. And I certainly don't want her thinking that she's buying something from me where she's getting a load of stuff bundled in that she doesn't need, and so it's not a good value offer. What she's actually getting from me is that's the minimum price I would give my time one-to-one for.
Well, I think that's really important, you see, because I think both parties have to be clear about what they want. And if they can find a sweet spot in the middle, great, a contract happens and off we go. And if they can't, they can't. And if they can't, that means one or other of the parties is wrong for this deal, because a deal doesn't close unless both parties get what they want. And I think if it doesn't close, great. I say this in the book. If it doesn't close, great, just leaves you free for somebody who's more right. And it doesn't mean she's wrong. It just means, the two of you cannot find a way to work together for whatever reason. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't. But I think what's really interesting about this is, of course I would think this because I'm an amateur psychologist these days, everybody thinks they're special. It's the selfie generation, okay? I don't want your package. Of course, who wants to be packaged? I don't want to feel like I'm packaged either. I want to feel like I'm special.
Yeah, and I never use the word package to a client. I just say, it sounds like what you need is what I offer in my mastermind level. And
then you see, that's all I want to do, to be able to get into a conversation with somebody so we can work out what they do need. And they don't want to read the blurb anymore. They just want to ask us, what have you got? Yeah. So do you see? Do you see how that different that is? Because what we used to do in the olden days, you and I, and again, you're so much braver than you were. Do you remember all of the stuff at the beginning was about having good words on your website so that the client could make up their mind and pay you money without having ever had a dialogue with you?
Yes. No, I'm very keen for dialogue now.
Right.
I think it's because I'm on my own. So apart from when I'm at Right Club or down in the tavernas, I think because I spend so much time on my own, I'm quite glad of a bit of a conversation.
Yes, well, isn't that interesting? So you've changed as well, you see. So I think we all change all of the time. I think that's the only constant, funnily enough. Yeah. I think this is a fascinating topic, actually. And if that's the way the world goes, then I don't mind. And if people want bespoke, it's more expensive. And if they can't afford more expensive or to treat themselves royally like a star, then they've got to try and see if they can squeeze themselves into the group offerings, which we've carefully crafted to be a stonking bargain.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've looked very carefully at what my peers are offering for the same money and more money even. And, I know, that my Clicks and Leads Academy, for what it involves and offers, is incredible value. So
can I just say that I would never compare myself to another living soul, because I'm unique. So I'm not in the least bit interested in what other people charge for it. What I'm interested in is what's my client's financial reality and what can I do for that?
Yeah. Is there a space in this focus of the week for a conversation about the lady that contacted you just recently that we were going to make focus of the week? The one who didn't have any money for marketing, didn't want to do marketing, didn't have any money to pay for anyone else to do her marketing. Do you remember about 2 or 3 weeks ago we discussed this person?
No, I've forgotten, funnily enough.
They were looking for something that didn't actually exist, which was, and you actually found someone to send them off to in the end.
Oh, yes, I did. It was, I'll tell you what it was. You remember Paula MacArthur?
Yes.
Yeah, she is now running a thing called something for therapists. And my client was a therapist. I do remember this actually very well. My client is a therapist who's never liked the idea of marketing. She's a healer, not a healer with a capital H, a healer with a small h. And she has been in a profession that more orthodox medicine that frowns on unorthodox medicine. So people who have a foot in both camps of orthodox anything, where the profession is regulated, struggle to market themselves in wearing their other hat, because it conflicts with the rules under which they're allowed to earn their living in their professional thing. Yeah. Okay, so now that's part of it. So that leads to people saying, I don't want to be seen above the parapet and I can't blog in my own name and all that kind of thing. But I think that this particular lady had never especially taken well to marketing, because I think she was probably quite diligent and hadn't really achieved any success following recommendations that I'd made previously and watching what she sees me do, because she's not a natural necessarily at marketing in the written or spoken or pictorial. I was going to say marketing or in the written or spoken word, or in the pictorial genre and doesn't want to spend any more time sitting at her computer creating content, and any that she has done half-heartedly hasn't worked, so she doesn't believe it will for her. And Paula MacArthur popped up at the same time and said that she was starting this new business. I'll find out what it's called. It's called something like marketing for therapists, and it begins with a free Facebook group, and there's an upsell to a very affordable paid year-long academy type thing of something like $37 a month or $47 a month. Not expensive. So I said to my client, do you want to pay somebody to do it for you, or do you want to learn how to do it? And she said, I can probably only afford the latter. And I said, well, I've got good news for you, because here it is. It's $37. She joined the free. I don't know whether she's upgraded yet, but if you want Paula to do that for you, it's $2,000 a month. Yeah. So if you don't want to find $2,000 a month to pay for Nicola or Paula to do your marketing for you, you've got to join a group for $37, $47, $67, $97 and learn how to do it yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, there's no other choices, is there? I mean, there's no. Gary Vaynerchuk says, what's the alternative?
Well, and you know the other thing, of course, and why you're so expensive and Paula's so expensive and why Bespoke is expensive is because our time is our most valuable asset, commodity, and I've only spent 40 years of my life becoming the expert that I am. And if somebody wants to pick my brains... somebody did pick my brains under the pay what you want on Tuesday for 40 minutes and sent £30, which isn't really what my expertise is worth. But the whole point of pay what you want is, to be useful to people in their financial reality now and again. But I couldn't make a living like that, obviously.
No. So how, because you often talk about the pay what you want model only working if you absolutely 100% open yourself to the possibility they might pay you $10 and you're happy with that.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. And therefore, unless you are rolling in financial abundance for other purposes, like your financial ships come in, then you can only do it for part of your business.
Yeah.
Now, but what we do know from that very first link that Sarah sent me to the American site years ago, that those people who make it their core offering, and what I've learned from experiments in the past with, for instance, ebooks, and let's come back to ebooks in a minute, is that people pay you more, not less.
Some people do. So it averages out.
No, the average is higher. So on an ebook, for instance, my average was £6, where Ryan Dice wanted me to sell it for $2.99 or $3.99. Because some people send you £20 because, and this is about to come up for me because I'm about to sell my book and I know what price I want to sell it for, and I'm looking at those platforms which will allow you to sell it for either a price or a pay what you want. What I haven't worked out yet is if I can say you can pay what you want over and above the minimum price, if you know what I mean, and so that people can add on a donation, and that might suit for the people who love to read my newsletters but never pay me a bean.
Yeah. I think the other thing it brings us back to is the ideal client thing, because the person who asked me what I offered from my menu and snapped up 2 or 3 things in a go was my ideal client, and she pointed me towards what I think is my ideal marketplace. And the other client, all lovely as she was not an ideal client because she wanted to dip in and out when she felt like it rather than committing to a regular routine. And she wasn't in my ideal marketplace, and she was in a marketplace where negotiation and bargaining and beating people down is commonplace, whereas the first client was in a very much more upmarket kind of marketplace where you wouldn't do that sort of thing.
Okay, so you've just given me 2 or 3 things that I would advise a client against taking that person on then.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of them made me go, ooh, there was a little electric response in my body, brackets negative.
Yes. What, the first one I talked about?
Yes.
Yes.
The one with, she's in a market, she's less than ideal in ways 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
so if you said she's less than ideal in 1, okay. So what you told me was bend over a bit, 1, bend over a bit more, 2, bend over a bit more, 3. No, sorry, adds up to a no for me if that was a client. And the client would agree with me. She would say, yeah, no, I know you're right. I don't know why I'm asking you really. But I tell you why I would still have that conversation to try and work that out is because I'm absolutely appalling at first impressions. So people I love on site turn out to bite me on the bottom and vice versa. So actually I have no idea before I start working with a client whether they're going to be ideal or not. Which is why I don't really wholly believe in the ideal client thing. However, when we feel compromised once, twice, 3 times, that's a no-no. And for me, that's the big you going, don't do this, Judith. Don't do this, Judith.
Yeah, and it's always tempting because, a large sum of money just before Christmas would have been quite nice. But I'm not to the point where the next 3 months we're going to be miserable.
Well, I'll tell you what I would do in that circumstance. It was 3 months, was it?
Yeah. No, that was me insisting what they wanted was to dip in and out and pay X amount for a call. It was reducing me to an hourly rate, basically.
Right, pay what you want. Sorry, no consultation, yes. Okay, and did you have a fee for a consultation, and do you have an offering for a consultation?
I do, but I don't want to work on a one-off basis.
Yes, well, it's a no then, isn't it? It's a no. Yeah.
I'll tell you why.
And there's a good reason why it's no, because it's not going to work like that, is it?
No, it isn't. And Facebook ads are not things you can turn on and off. You have to have a running campaign, and you have to monitor the campaign, and that's when you get your best return on investment. So it's always about what's best for the client for me. And with the first client, who snapped up 3 of my lovely offerings. I don't call her ideal because she is a particularly nice person. I'm really looking forward to working with her. But it's the fact that she is ideal from the point of view she's got the raw materials to make a success of it. And I only now want to work with people who want to, who've got the potential to make a big success of it. Someone contacted me recently about my dinner and a day offer I've just sent out. And they were saying they've got a fantastic business idea, and it's actually a bit of software, so I love working with software, but he doesn't want to be the face of his business at all. He doesn't want to create videos, he doesn't want to blog, he doesn't want to run a podcast. He's a Lord accumulator basically, and he just wants to stay invisible. And I just said, my system isn't going to work for you unless we can find a way to make your clients the focus of the business, because that's the only way we can do it if you're not prepared to do it yourself.
And he's a solopreneur. He doesn't have a face of his business.
No, he's a solopreneur. There's nobody else we could use.
And actually, the client's thing isn't going to work either, because you're chasing up other people to be available for your content all the time.
You're dependent on someone else, yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as the compromise is what we're talking about here, Bespoke is completely different from compromise. Bespoke is... What's the brief and what's the budget? Let me tell you what I can do for that. And you can either tell them what you can do for that and they can say yes or no, or you can say, do you know what? It doesn't work on a consultancy basis because you can't switch your Facebook ads on and off. So with regret, I'm passing on this one. I don't want to.
You just touched on the whole nub of it there. It's bespoke compromise, isn't it?
Yes. Bespoke doesn't mean compromise. Bespoke means something that's a joy for both parties.
Yes. Nice, but now
like a handmade suit from Jermyn Street, bespoke. That's what it means.
Yes, those suits. God, that's a challenge for me now because I'm going to want to use the same picture I used last week. I have to find a different one.
What was the picture we used last week? A suit.
Well, it's a fashion designer creating a best.
Oh yes, so it was. Well, is there a picture for compromise?
I'm going to have to find one, aren't I?
Yes,
I am indeed. Right, so that's good. That came out well, that one. So, word of the week then.
Yes, well, my word of the week is dictionary.com's word of the year. And do you want to know what that is?
Yes, I do.
It's complicit.
Good one.
Now, that means involved with others in an activity that is unlawful or morally wrong. And the reason why it's dictionary.com's word of the year is because there have been surges of people searching online dictionaries to discover what it means in connection with 3 news stories, which I won't go into here because it's all a bit political. But my word of the week is complicit because it is also dictionary.com's word of the year.
Very good. Well, mine is ROI, which means obviously return on investment.
I don't know how you thought you were going to get that one past me. That's 3 initials, not a word.
ROI is a word, just one word.
No, ROI is not a word. ROI is 3 initials denoting 3 words.
Yeah, it's such a good one. I need to use it.
But I will allow it. But I want the gentle listener, and I want the gentler listeners to know you didn't get it past me. Okay.
No, I'm always trying to get things past you. I never do.
No.
The reason I wanted to talk about this was because of the conversation we were having about newsletters and podcasts. because if you reposition the thoughts about your newsletter and your podcast, then you can think that Dean Jackson talks about before units in your business, during units and after units. And if you think of your podcast and your newsletter as being both a before unit, i.e. attracting people to you and warming them up to the point where they feel comfortable to buy, and it's part of your after unit because, clients enjoy the podcast and the newsletter after they've been a client. It keeps reminding them about referrals, which is a very big part of an after unit. And it's so basically it's a really time efficient way of creating a before unit and an after unit that helps your business overall without having any specific return on investment that you can measure in terms of sales. So I think that helped me think about what we do and what I do, and the spending I do on boosting my V-zine. Does it directly lead to sales? Not within the 28 days I can track on Facebook. Does it help with my before units and after units? Yes, it does, because existing clients enjoy it. It reminds people, when people see it, it reminds people to refer people to me, and it also brings clients to me who feel ready to buy without having me to sell them at all. So return on investment.
Okay, so I like the concepts a lot. But I'm going to stick to my guns, which is I would be surprised if I was still doing either or both of these things, and I'll explain why in a minute, this time next year. Mm. I think the writing's on the wall for my newsletter. Don't know why yet, but I'm just flagging. And I'm concerned that your podcasting need will be met with your Write Club one, and that'll be the reason that we decide not to do this any longer. Although I realise there'll be a cost to that because you get your content for, everywhere online from this. But we'll see.
Yeah, the thing I think is that I won't get the same podcasting need met from the Write Club. The Write Club is my hobby, and it's a way of engaging even further with the ladies with whom I do my hobby, and it's a way of helping them in return.
Well, if by this time next year you're a successful sci-fi novel, I will just flag in episode 160. Remember where you heard it first.
Yeah, but even successful novelists don't make that much money, so I'm not looking unless you.
I don't think that's true. Look at your sex worker that you spoke to about erotica. I bet she makes a living doing that.
Well, she told us she doesn't.
Then she's doing it wrong, because there are many people that we know that sell fiction, even quite normal human beings.
Well, I went on to ask her specifically about that, because I said, are you self-publishing? And she said no. And I said, do you think that's the reason you're not yet making a living from your writing? And she said yes, and I am considering self-publishing next.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so she only gets like 12% on sales and right. Your own marketing, whereas if you do self-publishing, I think you make I don't know, I can't remember, 80%, 90%, something like that.
Okay.
So, so that was interesting. So her return on investment is going to be much higher. Bringing it back to the word of the week, is going to be much higher if she invests in learning how to self-publish. Project updates then.
Well, since my 3 days loss of the internet, so slow with my book. Today is the 30th of November, and I really wanted to publish the ebook during November. And if it hadn't been for the loss of those 3 days, I would have been able to do that. And I'm struggling to work out, and this is what I debate in tomorrow's newsletter, I'm struggling to work out why I've been slowed down so often with this project. There was the backache, which added an extra month to the writing of it. And then John took a while with the forward. And now this week we've lost the broadband on 3 crucial days, where the man who I'm going to tell you about in the next section was doing the design and printing. Why? I don't get this. Well, you never know the end of the story till you get the end of the story, but it's very interesting that, there was, I wrote the book, then there were 2 proofreaders, then there was the forward, then there's the guy, you write a book and there are other people involved and you've got to allow them their time to do their best work. But the backache and the loss of the internet, what's that all about?
I know, yeah. I mean,
it basically means that instead of 2 months, if I do it next year, I've got to allow 4.
Well, perhaps that's a way of making you slow down a bit. I don't know. Take it easy.
Oh, well, it's got to be, hasn't it? But, the weird things that are coming in my direction at the moment, the falling over, the no heat and the no internet, it's just bonkers. Anyway, tell me what you have written on your notes to tell us in this section, if anything.
I wrote 10-day numbers are up. So
okay.
You've had a very good week in terms of downloads last week.
Okay.
I'm drawing no conclusions from that at all. I'm just going to see what happens over the next month.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So our efforts seem to be making a difference because we definitely have had some very strong downloads this last week.
Okay, good.
So who or what's impressed then?
Well, I've got two. The man, Matt, who runs his own business called Candescent Press. He's doing the formatting of the books and the ebooks. And initially we thought he might do the cover design. And indeed he won't actually. But he's fast and efficient. He's already given me an award for the fastest replier to emails he's ever seen. Obviously that hasn't applied in the last 3 days because I'm barely able to breathe, let alone reply. But have a look at Candescent Press, Candescent. I'll put a link in it. Bargain, actually. Bargain. And he's done all this work and he hasn't even sent me an invoice, which I might have to advise him about afterwards as foolhardy. Yeah. I've offered several times to pay in advance. So he's my number one. And I've got a second one, actually, which is 2 weeks ago, I told you about Adazing, Adazing, who'd done all of those 30 social media versions of my book cover in different formats. Do you remember?
I purchased.
Yeah, it's a stonking bargain, isn't it? Anyway, they've offered me another stonking bargain, and you've probably seen it if you've bought something because you're on their mailing list. But for $30, I can get 40 video templates of my book so would have 40 pieces of video with my book in it. And now, obviously, I can create those on Lumen 5, but for $30. Now, I do need to be able to know how to use PowerPoint, and I'm not altogether sure I do know, but it might be a project. I probably should spend the $30 today, get the 40 video templates, and use my Christmas holiday to see if I can make 40 pieces of video content around my book.
PowerPoint is so easy once you get the hang of it. The difficulty is, if you use a template, the difficulty is it changes the size of the typeface depending on how much you try and squeeze.
Well, I can't believe, can you, that given how easy the 30 social media images were, that they wouldn't make this easy as well.
Yeah, I can't. Well, that sounds very good, doesn't it?
And don't you think that's worth a $30 punt of anybody's money? 40 video templates. Yeah, quite.
Yes, very nice. I'll have to go and have a look at that as well because I haven't seen that offer, I must say. Find out where their emails are going. Well, I'm having bouncing email problems again. I keep getting this. I mean, it's so ridiculous that I am who I am, and I get email.
Why don't we just sing there? There's a little opportunity to put in a piece of music. I am what I am. Oh no, that's I am what I am, not who I am. Okay, sorry. I am who I am.
Now, aren't you? It is ridiculous because it's the most fundamental thing about internet marketing is that you should have an email that works. But regularly, my emails bounce back.
Oh, Nicola, it's a sign. It's a sign.
It's not even. Everyone thinks it's because my emails are being rejected. It's actually my email server is rejecting their emails for having suspected spam content in it. And I have spent, I'm not joking, 2 hours on the phone to GoDaddy trying to sort this out because GoDaddy just say it's them, they're sending you spam, and our email servers are rejecting them, and it happens intermittently. So I can't even pin down, what's causing it. It's infuriating anyway. So
you've never been very good at email with respect either.
Well, Stevie's sorted it out for me, and Sarah's tried now, and she's.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, it's not your, incoming emails. You're not a fast replier, or it's not your most efficient way of processing communication.
Well, if it gets through to me, I do my best to reply. But if it's not getting through to me in the first place, I can't possibly reply.
No, but this is not the first time we've discussed this over the last 15 years, and I think it's a sign because all your new clients this week came in via Facebook message.
They did, yes, but sometimes you need to use email. I'm trying not to use it as much as I possibly can.
Anyway, who or what's impressed?
Well, let me tell you about my little Phoebe, because she's gone off this week. She did I introduced her to my friend who's a gamification expert. And,
yes.
he is hosted this. She did a video for him for free to get one into her portfolio of this person, and he in return offered her some paid work, being the social media person for his 2-day conference of all the gamification experts in Europe. And it
was in Brighton, wasn't it?
Yes, at the Brighton Eye, that thing that goes up in the sky. And so for the last 2 days, I mean, she said to me, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's terrifying. And I said, well, you've done it before. You did one for Penina Shepherd. And it's not so scary. Just make sure you take your business cards. And the night before, her phone packed up. So she was having complete kittens at the idea of having to do social media for someone and not having a proper phone to do it on. Anyway, Nelson came to the rescue and lent her his phone. And so she went off with her phone, which started working again, and Nelson's. And she did 2 days worth of social media. She was doing Facebook Live. She was doing Instagram. She was doing Snapchat for them. There was a professional film crew there as well. And she just said, it was the most fun. I mean, it was about something she knows nothing about and probably is interested in even less. But she has had a lovely, lovely time. And she got chatting to the film crew, and they've said to her that they're looking for help in their office in Brighton. And they do everything from creative to commercial stuff. And it's it would be pretty much her dream job right now. So they swapped business cards. And, that was so funny that I made her get some business cards done before the last conference. And she said, I felt really confident, Mum. I had a firm handshake. I had business cards in my pocket, and I didn't feel scared at all. It was just great. So that's my little baby going doing grown-up things.
Okay, good. Cool.
Very sweet. Okay, that's us then.
Good. And because we chopped it in the middle, thanks to my BT man, I've no idea how many minutes we've recorded in the 2 sections added together. So I'll leave that with you, Nicola.
Right. Intuitively, it feels fine.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.